And we must now ask, what is the right possible solution? I try and address that very briefly. The call by the fees must fall movement in universities is often framed in absolute terms. It is unclear whether all fees, there is tuition, textbooks, internet access, boarding, lodging, transport, and pocket money must fall. Equally, it is uncertain whether every student, irrespective of financial need, must be fully funded by the state. And there are also crucial issues of time frames with free access to tertiary education, within which tertiary education must be realized. Must it be now or nothing? Part of the grievances pertain only to institutional issues, limited to senior management of institutions and other customized disaffection. All these matters call for in-depth conversation. In other words, we need to hear from the young people in an accommodating and listening way. What is the frame and extent of the claim? On the other hand, the state has not persuaded the students that it has a credible solution to the fees crisis. If it had, peace would have returned to us, hasn't. The state has conceded the grievances in broad terms, but lacking in specificity on the remedy it proposes. When you go home and you lie in your bed and say, what does the state say? How are they going to solve this matter? Nothing comes to mind for me. Maybe you know better. In some instances, the state has characterized the protest as attempts at regime change, funded by enemies of the state. Now, the latter analysis of student revolt may be unimaginative and perhaps intellectually or strategically lazy. I understand the stance of the state that the nation should await the outcome of the Hare Commission. At a formalistic level, that may be the correct approach. But the students in protest will not wait for the Hare Commission report. And this means the prospect of heightened unrest during university registration and later in January 2017 is real and truly ominous for our nation. What we collectively need to do, in my humble view, wearing my hat as a patriot, and indeed as Chancellor of WITS, sometimes called the epicenter of the student uprising, is to convene a prompt negotiating forum, a codesa of education, convened not by the state, by civil society, at which leaders and representatives of students of all civil society formations, stakeholders, with serious interest in education of our youth, come together to debate the composition and process and substantive objects of the forum. At the forum, government will occupy a place of importance because it, in the end, bears the duty to provide legitimate access to education. The policy or legislative measures government would take thereafter would be responsive to and enjoy the support of vast stakeholders in education. After all, only government can formulate effective policy or legislative measures. And only government has the money to fund access to higher education, or most of it at any rate. But peace in the education sector cannot be achieved by state coercion, by militarization of campuses, or by unilateral declarations and positions by the state sitting on the mountaintop. Responsiveness and cohesion and not coercion is what we need to resolve this matter. We should again talk to each other, engage each other, listen to each other, and hear out what the students are saying and what senior management is saying and what government says are the impediments in the way of fulfilling its constitutional obligations, which I described earlier. And I think, in my view, the Education Forum must sit from now to the end of December 2016 to tease out all the disputes and issues around the protest, including endemic violence and campus militarization, in a way that points to a master plan on access to education envisaged by our democratic project as mirrored in our constitution. In that way, we may save the academic year of 2017, and we may, patriots, indeed place education where it belongs in our long, glorious struggle for a just society. I thank you for listening, and good night.